National Weather Service is predicting an above-average hurricane season with 17 to 25 named storms and 4 to 7 major hurricanes. FEMA is encouraging residents to get prepared before the storm by gathering supplies such as food, water, and backup power.
Do we have a backup generator?
No, but I don't think we're going to need one.
Well, what about losing power and food in the refrigerator and everything?
Well, I think we're going to be all right.
Hurricane Isaac is now a Category 1 storm, packing 90-mile-per-hour winds and is expected to make landfall by tomorrow night. Preparations are underway as flooding and power outages are a major concern. Highways are packed as residents along the coast are making their way to higher ground and local shelters.
This is an emergency message from the National Hurricane Center. Hurricane Isaac is now a major Category 4 storm and has made landfall. If you have not yet evacuated, you are advised to shelter in place. 911 calls will not be answered due to high winds, flooding, and dangerous downed power lines.
We're seeing much frustration and anger in areas completely devastated by Hurricane Isaac. Millions of people are without power. Long hot lines for food and fuel as customers are without refrigerators and air conditioning. Utilities inform customers to expect 4 to 6 weeks before power can be restored, leaving millions in the dark.
So it's been 3 days with the power out. It's like 100 degrees in here and both our phones are dead. So we have no way of knowing what's going on out there, how bad the devastation is. Everything in our freezer and fridge has gone bad and we're just throwing all this food out. How did it come to this? So let's roll the tape back and see how things might be different if we had an Oupes Mega 3 generator.
This sounds really bad. Do we have a backup generator?
Yeah, actually I just picked up the Oupes Mega 3. It's a solar generator.
What's the Oupes Mega 3?
Well, I'll show you. Okay, so let's take a quick look at the Mega 3. It's got a really nice display, shows you everything you need to know. And then we've got some different areas. We've got DC outputs over here that you can switch on and off. Has an Anderson 12 volt 30 amp connector here, output. And it's got the Type C and USB-A ports here. Over on this side you've got the car output, 12 volts 10 amps. And the DC output ports that are 12 volt 10 amps. Down here we've got the AC section. 5 of the 120 volt 3600 watt connectors, plugs, and then you have your travel trailer 30 amp here, and that's 120 volts 3600 watts. Real nice way to connect this thing up. It's on wheels, weighs a little more than 80 pounds. On the side over here we have our AC charge port, and we have another Anderson connector. Don't confuse these. This is a DC output. This is your DC input for the solar. Okay, so this is up to 2100 watts and don't go over 150 volts, but you could use any panel pretty much as long as you don't go over 150 volts and 2100 watts. You have overload protection on the inputs and outputs, DC in, AC out, and you have an extra battery port. Okay, so let's take a closer look starting with the key specs. It'll output 3600 watts continuous. That's a pure sine wave clean power, unlike most generators output dirty power and you can't run your sensitive electronics off of them. 7,000 watts peak surge watts. It's got a 3 kilowatt hour battery. It's a lithium iron phosphate, which is really good. You can run 3,500 cycles. That's like every day for 10 years and still have 80% of its capacity. 120 volt clean output. And it's got a 30 amp RV plug. Now let's say it's after the storm. What do you really need to run? Sort of the bare minimum. You want to keep up that refrigerator because it's got all your expensive food. You don't want that to go bad. A few lights. Charge your phone so you can stay in communication with the outside world, see what's going on in your area. Run a fan and maybe a window AC to keep one room cool where you can sleep. So you've got the Mega 3 and you know what you need to run. How are you going to connect these things up? There's 3 good ways to do it. The cheap and easy way to do it is use extension cords. So you just run extension cords to everything and you're good to go. A better way to do it is to use a lockout on your main panel. Okay, this is a little more involved, but now you run power into your main panel and you can use all the circuits in your house. You just can't use the 240s, just the 120s. The best way to do it is to use a transfer switch like this ProTran from Alliance Controls. I've got a whole video on this on why it's better. I'll link that below. Okay, so you're up and running. How do you recharge it? Well, you can put in 900 or 1800 watts adjustable. That's AC input. That could come from the utility, or it could come from a gas generator that you run intermittently to save a lot of fuel and a lot of money. Or you could use up to 2100 watts of solar input. That's really good. 150 volt DC max voltage on that solar input. So basically, as long as you don't go over 150 volts and 2100 watts, you can use pretty much any panel. It generally takes about 2 hours to fully recharge this unit, but you could do it in under an hour if you have AC and solar at the same time. That's 3900 watts max. So let's look at the choice of panels. You could go with the Oupes 240 watt panels. These are really durable and portable. So if you're going camping, this is a great choice. And you can connect up a bunch of up to 2100 watts in series as long as you don't go over the 150 volts. But also, if you're going to be fixed in one place, you could just build an array out of any set of panels pretty much, as long as you don't exceed that 150 volts and 2100 watts. Okay, finally let's take a look at the pros and cons. We got lots of power, 3600 watts, big battery, 3 kilowatt hours, huge solar input at 2100 watts, fast charging, clean pure sine wave power, and it's expandable. You can stack a bunch of these extra batteries up on there and have a ton of power. The cons is it doesn't have 240 volts output, so it won't run like a water heater, well pump, dryer, but that's not really stuff you'd want to run off a unit like this anyway. So let's see how things would be different after our hurricane if we had the Oupes Mega 3. Alright, when the power goes out, we're going to fire up the Mega 3, plug in our cable, and then we'll go out, plug the other end into the inlet box to the main panel, and we'll have the power back on. In the next video, I'll show how I used the Oupes Mega 3 generator to back up my whole house for 3 days after a hurricane. But that's it for this one, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll see you on the next one.